You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 5, Episode 9, titled Drama Queens. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one friable co-host. From the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
You are muy stupid if you think you are going to take over our familia.
To Taylor... the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor the Latte Boy.
Hello, Joe Betance. How are you?
Everyone should know I got this text message from Taylor the Latte Boy last week, and he's like, "Did you mail my Christmas present?"
I knew it. I knew you were going to turn it like that. That is not how it went. You bastard.
And then I got super nervous, right? Because I was like, "Oh, I had the receipt and I threw it away." I go, "I sent it. I promise, I sent it." Right?
All scared.
Yeah, I was super scared. I promise, Taylor, I did send. I did.
Locking the windows in your house and turning the.
Yeah, and then turns out yesterday Taylor was surprised. He goes, "Oh, he actually did send it because you got it. You got the sweatshirt I sent you.
I got it yesterday, and it is. I'm not ashamed to say that it is a 2XL, and it is only what I can refer to as a California 2XL. Because it's really more like a child's medium.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I tried it on, and I was like, I was definitely fat man in a little coat.
Yeah,
2XL.
And I tried it on for my husband and said, "This feels small," and he's like, "No, it looks good." And I'm like, "I look like sausage casing," and he was like, "Well, I mean, if you're But
as we all know,
it looks like it fits." I'm like, "Fits and is comfortable are two completely different things."
But that being, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, this is 2020 is the year of your
change, a year of being aggressively thinner. So by the time I lose enough weight to wear it, it'll be too hot here. I won't be able to wear it. But it's definitely it's a goal outfit. It's a goal sweatshirt. It's super soft, and the embroidery on it is beautiful. So thank you once again. Thank you. I love it. I love that it's limited edition, and I love that I will strive to be worthy of wearing it. This gift from Afterthought Media. Oh, Captain, my Captain, Joe Betance. So you are a podcasting god. Yeah. Thank you so much for this limited edition sweatshirt that you got me. I've never been more thankful for any gift in my entire life. Thank you so much. Anything you need from me, anything you want from now on, I will definitely do, because you took time to go to the Walt Disney Studios and got me this sweatshirt that they don't make anymore.
Don't make it.
You decided to give it to me, meager little Taylor the Latte Boy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How was that? Was that better?
Put the sweatshirt on.
Do you really want me to go get the sweatshirt?
No, I don't. I have one right here. I have one sitting right here. Should I try it on for you?
Actually, my plan had been I was going to podcast tonight wearing nothing but the sweatshirt and tell you that I was sitting here bare ass with nothing but the sweatshirt.
Then I tried it on, and as the person who bought this, now that I'm actually really touching it, you're saying it's soft. It is. It's very thin.
Yeah, but I don't need a heavy. I need a heavy sweatshirt 3 days out of the year here in Florida. So, but there are those days where it's definitely cooler in the morning and then it warms up. So that would definitely be something to walk around, to walk around the parks, walk around Disney World. And when people see the Lucasfilms, they say, "Do you work for Lucasfilms?" And I would say, "Yes, I do." And just keep walking.
Yeah. It is nice. I don't know if I'll ever fit into it, but speaking of, by the way, I did make an appointment today. By the time this airs everywhere, by the way, RuPaul has messed with my schedule. We've been promising summer of 2020. for this show, and it's looking more like it's not going to come out for the main feed until late fall 2020.
Late fall, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Because as it stands right now, it's going to be season 12 starting February 28th. Then Nami Harder, beat reporter Nami Harder in the Discord posted another thing he got that All Stars 5 premieres June 5th.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We still have Drag Race Canada. We still have Drag Race UK. We still have Dragula. We still have, it's going to be, again, starting February 28th, it doesn't stop until, again, like Thanksgiving. Which is good for me, by the way.
Yeah, but then you're going to have to push these, or you're going to offer both episodes a week?
What episodes?
For 5 and 7, seasons 5 and season 7.
Yeah, they'll come out in the fall.
Right, but what I'm saying is because you're going to have that where that's going to get bumped right up to possibly season 13.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll space it out.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Unlike me and my new sweatshirt.
Yeah.
You can space it out. I can't.
Hopefully by the time you guys hear this in the main podcast world, Taylor and I will be like, oh, this sweatshirt's too big.
I know. We'll just be swimming in our sweatshirts.
Yeah.
We'll look like Baby Yoda.
Would you ever want to get that? Yeah, exactly. Holding a little cup with our little Lucasfilm sweatshirts. We're like, 2XL. I remember those days, Mm-hmm. And we hold on our jeans like this, where they could fit another person in it.
Right.
My question. So anyway, Lori and I are starting a podcast called The Pig Crew. It's a 8-week limited series. And we just did episode 1, and I made appointments today. We're going separately because we're going to reveal our numbers in the show. I don't want to get into this right now just because it's going to distract from the show. But Lori's already like, okay, we're going to go get hydrostatic water testing. We're going to put me in a tub and then measure my body fat percentage. Okay.
Like when they lower the cow into the water in Lake Placid.
Yeah, exactly.
Please tell me you're going to be on a swing.
I know. You know what? I wonder if they put me on a swing. Do you think they do? I'm going to find out.
They put you in one of those little hammocks.
Yeah. But I'm going to get in a tub of water, and then they're going to measure my body fat.
Afterthought Media's first video podcast doing that.
Me and I'm wearing like a shower cap.
Where you've got the sparklers, where you reverse it, the sparklers all go.
Yeah, the guy says, "Okay, you can come out now, Joe." And I'm wearing like the floaty with like a dinosaur in the front of it, and I have like the big goggles and like a snorkel. Mm. He's like, we're just measuring your body fat percentage, right?
And suddenly, the rest of Afterthought Media is all standing behind you in matching bathing suits and shower caps.
Yeah, exactly.
What was her name? The one that used to Mitzi Gaynor?
You're getting too gay for me. I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest with
you.
The
one that used to do all the old movies where she used to dive into the water.
It wasn't Mitzi Gaynor. It was, I know what you're talking about. She was always swimming.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat room would know. We need some more old queens in the chat room to tell us who it was. Anyway, so the point is that... I'm going to have my body fat percentage tested. And then Lori is too. And then the last day of the podcast, we will reveal our new numbers.
Okay. Esther Williams.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we're going to be doing that, but, we'll see. We'll be reporting that on the Pig Crew, available for Afterthought Media people. Haley's mom in the chat room has put a poster from Lake Placid in...
Can I steal that? Can I drag that onto my desktop for...
I don't see why you couldn't. What are you going to do with
it?
Your Instagram drawings?
One of the funniest stories, one of my funniest memories ever when I first met Taffy, my co-host on my other show, Pod is My Co-Pilot, available at podismycopilot.com.
I believe
we were talking about a friend of ours who was morbidly obese, and she used that analogy of dropping. Because she was talking about her going parasailing, and it would be like she was dragging in the water like the cow in Lake Placid. And I laughed for like 15 minutes just at the mental picture of it. So that's kind of was a bonding moment between Taffy and I talking about that. So, okay, question.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're getting ready to do.
No, the paper's not even in my hand. See, you have the second you see me go like that, you're like, oh, you better be like scared.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, what are you... You had mentioned that you were going to start the new year doing like a fasting cleanse. Have you started that?
I haven't because I have it. I picked it up, right? The reason I hadn't started was I needed to call the company because God bless my friend Mercedes. This is a very expensive cleanse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so she bought it for me for Christmas. And so I totally appreciate it. But it comes in 2 flavors, chocolate and vanilla. And last time she got chocolate and this time she got chocolate. And we have to have a smoothie twice a day for 3 weeks, it's one of these things where it's like, I can only take so much because there's not as much variety you can do with a chocolate because the chocolate is like a supplement you pour in. So you make the smoothie and you pour it in. So, with a chocolate, like it makes everything chocolate, it's like, what, I mean, how many things can you have with this chocolate,
Or vanilla you could do like fruit, you could do
exactly
a multitude of things.
Different things. So I called the company today and I was like, look, my friend gave me a Christmas present. I totally appreciate it. Can we switch up the chocolate for the vanilla? And they're like, well, no, we can't take it back. You can buy it. And I was like, part of me is tempted to buy it though, because how
much is it?
Well, because of what I'm doing, they would give me a discounted price. This thing is so expensive. They're giving me a big discount, Taylor, and it's $2 a package. You're looking at $4 a day for 21 days, $84. And that's the discount.
That's the discounted price?
That's the discounted price.
Okay, so $84. That doesn't seem okay. What are the bottles normally?
It's not a bottle. It's a powder.
Okay, well, how much is the powder normally?
Well, the box comes with the powder and the vitamins and the this and the that, and all that together is about $500.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So you've done this before, though.
Yeah, I loved it.
And how much did you lose?
I think about 30 pounds.
Okay,
yeah. So it is a great way to kickstart the diet because I'm going to drop 20 to 30 pounds over 3 weeks. And everyone's like, are you going to get food? You have one meal where you can we have these rules on clean. You can look it up online. I'm not going to sit here and go through the rules, right? But as long as you have the rules, you can pretty much eat as much food as you want at that meal.
Okay. So I could eat a whole cheese lovers pizza?
No, none of those things would be on the list. But like, you can have chicken, you can have turkey, you can have lamb, you can have brown rice, you can have this. And it's not like have like a lean cuisine stuff. No, you can have as much as you want. Eat your heart content. And then you have a smoothie for breakfast and smoothie for lunch, and I'm smart. Smoothie for dinner. And yeah, I liked it.
When do you eat the meal? Like at lunch?
At lunch.
Okay,
but that works for me because I'm a lunch person.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time finding things to eat around here that aren't fast food.
Yeah, well, same thing where I live too. But the problem you run into is if you go anywhere that's not fast food, then it's actually much more. That's the sort of the attractive thing about fast food is A, it's fast, but B, it's cheap.
Yeah, and you know exactly as far as calorie content and stuff, you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
So I went and had tacos yesterday. Jordan is commenting.
Oh, I saw that. I didn't say anything on the Instagram.
You didn't say anything about my tacos, or you didn't say anything about Jordan's comment?
About your tacos.
Do you have an issue with my tacos?
At first I didn't, and then I looked closely, and I'm like, what's all that cheese on the bottom?
Yeah, queso fresco?
Didn't look that fresco to me.
They're good, but they're expensive.
Oh, they are? How much is one taco?
They're like $3.50 a taco.
For that taco?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh no, it's down Central, which is right by my work, which is the hipster part of it's becoming the new up and coming neighborhood. So all the places, it's all a bunch of old like car garages and stuff and gas stations that they're changing into restaurants. And that's definitely very much the style. But the weather was beautiful yesterday, and I decided now that I'm going to treat myself to a couple of tacos, and it's really good. That's the same street that the burger with the blackberry or the blueberry jam is on. So when you come to visit, we'll go get $4 tacos, and then we'll go down and get blueberry jam.
I also want to get the imperial rice.
No, you do not want to get imperial rice. Well, you want to lose weight. So actually, because Babalu lost like 15, 20 pounds.
Everyone should know that Taylor's husband over Christmas got very ill at a Cuban restaurant He orders something called Imperial rice. When you describe it again on here, it sounded disgusting.
It's like where they debone a chicken.
Oh my God.
And they put it in rice, and then they cook it all together, and then they take it out, and they pour some sort of like mayonnaise concoction all over it. So it was gross. You know it's bad when his entire family, when he came home and said, I don't feel good, and they said, what did you eat? And he told all of them individually Imperial rice. They all made a face at him.
Oh.
So they were all like, no, you don't eat that. It's horrible. So he kind of got what he deserved. But he also lost like 15, 20 pounds for a week, so he felt great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Taylor, so someone posted on the Discord, Taylor, by the way, something that you would like. I think it was humble pie. How about you should post it in here so you can see it? But besides that, this week the girls put on their best fake cry while Detox chooses to really cry, and the girls participate in a telenovela acting challenge. Rolaska Talks impresses the judges while the feud between Alyssa and Coco finally comes to a conclusion. Jinx Monsoon was named the winner of the challenge, while Coco Montrese and Alyssa Edwards were placed in the bottom two. After a lip sync battle for their lives, Coco lived to see another day, while Alyssa Edwards was asked to sashay away. Taylor, named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
One thing that I liked about the episode was this episode was just kind of a middle of the road.
Yeah, it's a fine episode.
It was very, it was there. Not bad, but not great either. But there was, a couple of moments. I really kind of like that we saw, for somebody that is known for being plastic, I feel like we kind of saw a real side of Detox. And I liked that. And I kind of liked... Huh?
Did you, though?
Did I like it? Should I not have
did you see a real side of Detox is what I'm asking?
Well, okay. Let's put it this way. I liked that whether it was real or not, it kind of felt like a fuck you at RuPaul for the minigame. Which I did not necessarily like.
The dumb mini challenge. She actually kind of saved it.
Yeah. And I loved Jinx's look. I loved the Dia de los Muertos look.
The Dia de los what?
Muertos?
Okay.
What did you think I said?
That's fine. I thought you said weirdos.
Weirdos. No. Dias de los Muertos look of the episode. The thing that I did not like, well, I didn't like the mini challenge, but I also figure that we will talk at length. I'm expecting a theme, that I may be wrong, that this is one of these episodes that does not hold up well. They could never do this episode now.
Oh, I see where you're going. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That crossed my mind, but ultimately I was like, whatever. Okay, the 2 things that I liked about the episode, I actually thought Maria Conchito Alonso looked good. I don't know how old she
looked great.
Yeah. And I thought she was a great guest judge. She didn't stick her nose. Like, she wasn't like, what was the name of the other horrible person before during the Son of a Drag Queen?
Amber or something? No. What was her name?
Aubrey O'Day.
Aubrey O'Day, yeah.
She wasn't Aubrey O'Day. She was fine. She gave good notes and whatever, and kept her fucking mouth shut. She looked fantastic.
Okay, but she's also an actress. Aubrey O'Day is a personality who has no idea what she's doing, whereas Maria Conchita Alonso has been around for decades at this point.
Yeah.
So she kind of knows what she's doing.
Yeah. Then, the other thing that I liked was RuPaul's look. Did I like it?
Okay.
I don't remember. And the one thing I didn't like, I felt that I know what they were doing. We all knew what they were doing, but it felt by this point, the Coco and Alyssa fight was dead and gone, and they revived it artificially just to do this episode.
I have that down. That's the first thing I wrote. As far as the previously on, they definitely are setting it up that one of them at that point is going home, where they're just beating you over the head, reminding you that it's Coco and Alyssa did not get along for a long time.
Yeah. And I wasn't a big fan of that. All right. After Ivy's elimination, Jinx gets emotional after losing her potential life partner. Alyssa proclaims she can skip the challenges and just lip sync for her life every week. Jinx faces off against the pageant girls, and fellow comedy queen Alaska thinks Jinx should just do better. The next day, RuPaul entered the workroom to announce this week's mini challenge.
For today's mini challenge, we're going to play the crying game.
Oh no.
Where you need to cry on cue.
Everyone else put on a performance, with Jinx Monsoon going so ham that she makes Alaska laugh. Detox, though, steals the spotlight and gets real and confesses that the challenge is difficult for her because it reminds her of the boyfriend she lost 2 years prior. Detox then cries for real, and RuPaul has to excuse himself for some alone time before announcing Detox and Alyssa Edwards as the winners of the challenge. Finally, RuPaul announced this week's Maxi Challenge.
For this week's main challenge, you'll be starring in 2 primetime soaps. And you'll be doing it telenovela style. One script is Casa de Locas, House of the Crazy. The other, Ella no es dama. She's no lady.
All right, Taylor, we have a lot going on here. We have the opening sort of teaser there, cold open. We have the mini challenge. We have the announcement of the main challenge. What were your thoughts? First, let's talk about this. The Jinx getting emotional. Ivy's gone. She's super emotional.
That was creepy. Mm-hmm. There was something about it that just seemed very I'm uncomfortable watching this. Normally, I don't have a problem with drag queens crying, but it was just that ugly, snotty cry. And I get that she definitely, it seems like she feels more and more isolated. So somebody that she felt as though was a friend is gone. I can see where that would make her vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was kind of a little ugh.
Yeah, no. I was like, bitch, first of all, you're mostly done with the competition, so you'll see her soon. Yeah. If you're really into her. It's not that much time away from her. It was sort of, and then I wonder, is it awkward when later, Ivy's like, ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those that you look back at that now, and there are parts of this that are embarrassing for really any of them, when they know coming up. I wonder what that's like for queens, not only to be eliminated, but to know that there are going to be ugly things that are said or ugly things that are done during episodes, and knowing, especially when you think about somebody an example would be Valentina, where Valentina knew the "I'd like to keep it on, please" moment was coming, and was just kind of getting all of this love and adoration, and then to have it where I would assume that maybe she lost some fans because of that, at least. Temporarily, and what that's like to know that's coming. Yeah.
I also want to know what it's like, because then they go to these viewing parties, you're seeing for the first time what people said about you behind your back.
Yeah.
So that must be rough, too. It must be awkward. Okay. So, there's that. Next, we talk about Alyssa does have a weird moment where she's like, I don't need to do good in the challenges. I can just lip sync for my life, baby, And she's very extra. She's Alyssa extra this week.
Well, she's feeling vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think she's recognizing that she's not at the top of her game. We've talked about the delusions of Alyssa Edwards, and she's had a really crappy couple of weeks as far as challenges go and that sort of thing. So I think she's just trying to build herself up.
And then I think at this point, there's probably this notion where you probably could lip sync your way to the top, especially that close. Now you couldn't, but maybe at the time she thought maybe she could.
Actually, Cameron.
Oh, you're right. Cameron close. Michaels did. No, Cameron Michaels, lip synced her way all the way to the top 3.
To the final.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. And then also there was this moment where Jinx, this seemed very producer driven, where she's like, Coco, I need to talk to you because I think you should really stop calling me a comedy queen. And I was like, why is this a discussion?
Well, because that happened in Untucked the week.
Oh, it did. Okay.
The earlier in the day. And I think this was an opportunity for that. But this also kind of speaks to the double standard of Coco, whereas right a few minutes before, Coco was trying to tear down Alyssa and commenting on Alyssa and telling Alyssa about herself. But the second Jinx does the things being the Coco's rolling her eyes and going, I'm not talking about this. I don't have time for this, that sort of stuff, which is sort of a double standard. You know, you talk about the whole dynamic of Alyssa and Coco is fascinating because there is never a point in which one is the bad guy the entire season. There's never one that you think is worse than the other the entire season. And this is an example of, like, you know, I kind of remember having semi-fond memories of Coco, but watching this season again, there are times that I really genuinely don't like her.
Well, what I was going to say is, what's funny, though, is how quickly, you know, Coco and Alyssa are fighting, you know? Yeah. And then as soon as Jinx jumps in, they gang up, they team up together against Jinx. Like, all of a sudden they become, you know, allies.
Well, and that kind of speaks to the next topic that I wanted to talk about, was the whole comedy queens versus pageant queens.
Yeah.
Where at this point you really only you've got Alaska and Jinx, and to some degree Detox would be a comedy queen, I would think. And then you've got Coco, Alyssa, and Roxy at this point. So, and I guess when you think about queens long term, over the course of, at this point, 11 seasons, who do you tend to think of more fondly, the comedy queens or the pageant queens?
Well, I clearly like comedy queens more, so obviously comedy queens. But there are people who like the other ones.
But that is kind of the ones that seem to be more beloved would be the ones that I would think would be comedy queens. But it feels like this is still one of those examples of early on, you know, season 5. It's still it's still getting its, you know, getting it. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Getting in its groove. Okay. It's getting in its groove at this point.
Yeah.
And at this point, it was really all more about looks up to this point. And it wasn't really until Sharon kind of, you know, turned things around that was the first time that you had somebody that wasn't just about, you know, look queens. You know, when at this point you've got Bibi, Tyra, and Raja, who are all look queens, and then you had Sharon, who was something completely different. So I think you're starting to see that it's not just that box of pageant queens, look queens, that kind of thing. But, you know, I think even, you know, when I think about queens that I remember fondly, it's people like Jinx, it's people like Ben, it's people like Bob, Katya, Trixie, to some degree. All the ones that are comedy queens seem to be the bigger personalities come through. Yeah. The one Venn diagram of that seems to work, though, is Alyssa. Because Alyssa is funny. She just is the last one in on the joke kind of thing, where she is one of these where she has the looks and she comes from the pageant world, but she's also got this big over the top personality that I think is why people, as far as pageant queens go, people love her so much.
Yeah, this is a moment where I think the show is in a weird kind of way making a giant turn in drag. And so I think up until that point, including that point, there was a thing of comedy queens versus pageant queens. That's something that would be a very strange, archaic argument to have on the show now. Like, there's such a history now of the show. The show now, instead of being defined by drag is defined by the show, you know, hashtag Aquaria. And, so I think then that was for some, but to hear that argument, it seemed very kind of old and like outdated to hear that argument. Like, no one's having a comedy queen versus pageant queen argument. But I think Bianca is sort of the sort of breakthrough who I think Sharon's opened the door, you know, but Bianca is the one that just sort of just shatters it. Yeah. You know? And then after that, it's just not a discussion anymore. All right, Taylor. That said, why don't we move on to the mini challenge? They had to do this weird fake crying thing. This is one. Usually I'm like, why don't they bring this challenge back? This is one I'm like, oh, I'm glad they've never done this challenge ever again.
The only way this would work is if it wasn't where if she didn't try to present it as a serious, I want you to cry on commands and I want you to talk about something. And because some of the topics were they were kind of offensive, some of the things that people were saying. But when you have a situation,
especially when you're joking.
Yeah. But I mean, the one that comes to mind is, I knew that I was really a woman. Mm-hmm. And, that's something that would not play well. That would not play well in certain bars. Mm-hmm. Now, but, Jinx being the only one who kind of did it over the top, where she pulled back the veil and her makeup was super severe and everything was the way to do that. So I was a little surprised that she wasn't one of the captains for the team. You mentioned that, we don't know if Detox was being genuine or not. I kind of feel like Detox was being genuine. Unless you know something. No,
I don't know. There's nothing I don't know. It just...
Because she talks about it later.
Yeah. So does she talk about it during Untucked?
No.
Okay. So we'll bring in the Elimination Day discussion here too. So everyone should know, if you haven't watched the episode, they do this mini challenge where they do this fake crime. Alaska and Jinx are doing these bits. Alyssa, it seemed like they were reading something, that they had like a card that they were reading.
I didn't see cue cards. I think they were just sort of making up a story as they went along. Maybe some of them had notes that they wanted to write down.
Yeah, because Alyssa's not good at that stuff off the cuff, and she was like almost like reading something, Yeah. And so they're all being kind of funny about it, and then it cuts to Detox, who's like, I know you're all being funny, but sitting here reminded me of a horrible thing that happened to me 2 years ago. My boyfriend died, right? And I was thinking about it, and she starts crying, and then, RuPaul has a boner, but then later on, I got to thinking, and this is a crock of shit. Well, what's the quote again that Bianca tells Laganja?
I got thinking about everything you said is a crock of shit. I think she does say it's a crock of shit.
Yeah. Because then she's like, they had broken up, right? And like, the guy was stalking her and was threatening her. And then he turns up dead and she saw the body. And I'm like, Taylor.
Okay.
If you had
I see.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If you had a boyfriend and you broke up with him, okay, or because she said she broke up with him, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then he started stalking you, okay, and to the point where you're like, it's really freaking me out. I think she said it freaked her out, okay, and then he turned up dead. I can see that's a very traumatic thing to happen. It's a very violent thing to happen, a violent end to this. I can understand that. But then 2 years later, are you still crying about that?
Well, okay. Here's my thought. One,
on camera?
I've seen a lot of messy relationships sitting in my therapist chair. Yeah. I hear a lot of messy stories and people who do still have consistent contact with ex-boyfriends / stalkers / that kind of thing, because it doesn't make sense, but it does. So in that regards, I can see that possibly happening. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the second part of that. She's talking in the mini challenge about this feels a lot like, a bunch of people sitting around talking like in a group. But then she mentions during the Elimination Day setups that she never saw a therapist or she's never talked about this with anybody before.
Good point.
Which I thought was an odd thing as far as so if you've never been to a support group about this, how do you know that this is what a support group feels like? Other than it is the stereotypical support group. So, I mean, maybe this stalker boyfriend is the same as Alexis Mateo's military boyfriend that, she just wants him to come home poppy. Yeah. Because that's been well established that he didn't really exist. She made up that story.
Oh, it is?
So, yeah. Yeah, they talk about it on Race Chasers all the time.
That she admits this, or that they just think this?
She pretty much has admitted this, that he didn't really exist. Oh, okay. That she made up a story. So I don't know. It just felt like I usually see Detox as very polished and very much of the, I've got my shit together. And so to see her vulnerable like that, whether she's acting or not, was refreshing in some way as a viewer. Now that being said, whether she was being genuine or not, the fact that RuPaul voted her as one of the two winners is kind of gross. Because that says that that tells me that RuPaul wanted genuine crying.
Oh, I think RuPaul was surprised.
Well, yeah, no, RuPaul had a look on her face like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? So it felt almost like a mercy.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like a mercy win versus a genuine win, because I think Jinx in particular should have been one of the winners, because she was trying to be funny and she was giving you a moment.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying that you can't cry. I've been in a therapist's office where I'm telling a story that's never made me cry in my life, and I start telling the story and I start crying. You know? But to me, to be in a situation where there are cameras and lights and everyone's clearly playing it for laughs and you're in this competition, why would you? I mean, that's just, it doesn't seem like a conducive place for that to happen.
Okay, but think about Roxy a couple of weeks ago, where she started thinking about the mom on the bus stop thing and got herself to where she was doing the ugly cry.
But that came up organically.
Well, okay, but this may have happened organically in that if she's the last one to go around, and I know there's the power of editing and she might not have been, but she's sitting there listening to all these other stories and getting herself worked up, thinking about stuff, and then to talk about it, maybe I mean, we'll never know. We'll never know whether it was a genuine or not, but it felt genuine to me.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, she and Alyssa are named the winners of the challenge and become team captains for the two groups. And the groups are broken up as follows. There's one sketch, the Team Detox, called Ella no es dama. Okay, and it's just basically, it's Alaska Talks. It's Detox, Roxy, and Alaska. And in Team Alyssa, where the name of the show is Casa de Locas, it's Alyssa with Jinx Monsoon and Coco Montrese. And so that one is set up too. Now, as I often do with these shows, I broke it up into teams.
Yeah.
And let's start off with Team Detox. Over in the workroom on Team Detox, Roxy and Detox yuck it up while nervous Alaska sits quietly in the corner. Alaska confesses that she's not happy with the reformation of her Alaska Talks and worries what that could mean for her come judging time. During the table visits with Ru, Detox pulls focus when Alaska speaks and is a little bothered when RuPaul tells Detox that she needs to bring some extra effort in the challenge because she hasn't been bringing her A game. Later, Detox is a little annoyed that Alaska and Roxy think that she should get rid of a silly mask she planned on wearing during the acting challenge. And during the filming, Roxy struggles with the pacing of her lines while Detox takes a long time to use one of the props. It all seemed to pay off though during the final product as the judges laughed at the performances in Ella no es dama. Taylor, your thoughts on everything Team Detox? They might as well just call it Team Alaska Talks.
Yeah, it was Team Alaska Talks. I thought it was definitely the better of the two.
Okay.
I thought that all three of them did a good job. The scene in the beginning where it was Roxy and Detox talking and yucking it up and Alaska cutting sitting there, I feel like we've seen that before earlier in the season.
Yeah.
I think when they were doing the "Can I get an amen?" It felt very reminiscent of that. And this is also where you see at this point Alaska, especially when she's talking out the whole thing of I don't want this scene as the clique coming back together and that sort of thing, where you see that she's thinking long game here, whereas I feel like maybe Roxy and Detox are just trying to get to the next. What do you call it? The next challenges, the next week. And that shows why Alaska is a force to be reckoned with.
That's a very good point. To me, there wasn't. I think actually, this is true with both teams. I think when you get to this stage in the competition, they all kind of gelled. I mean, and we. Oh, actually, this is our guest last time, or somebody had pointed out that. What we are seeing now starting this episode with Ivy gone, this is the giant bulk of the cast of All Stars 2.
Yeah.
This is what we're seeing here is pretty much the cast of All Stars 2, with the exception of Jinx, who won season 5. So, these are every single one of them is considered an all-star for sure.
Yeah.
Not even without a doubt.
It's a strong top 6. It's definitely one of the strongest top 6s they've had. But
but what I'm saying though is in terms of they're fucking up. There's not much to put in the challenge. You know, they're trying to find what can we do here narratively. And there really isn't much, you know. I'm sure even just Alaska was just tired or, you know, or maybe Roxy and Detox have been doing this for, you know, like, okay, we're done, you know.
Yeah, we get it. Haha.
Like when Lori and I are on the show with Taylor, you guys can't see this, and Lori and I are going on one of our giant riffs. You can see Taylor's just like, oh, God. Babalu's yelling at him in the back.
Well, because there's not a chance for me to jump in.
There isn't?
Very rarely is there a chance for me to jump in. I just like to sit and listen when I like to feel like I've got a front row seat to the Joe and Lori show.
And what a show that is, Taylor. What a show.
Can we talk about Wilmer Valderrama?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like him to do things to me.
What?
Dirty things.
He's so funny because when he was on that 70s show, I did not think he was cute at all.
No, he wasn't cute then. But he kind of strikes me as somebody who years from now is going to be kind of like at the Playboy Mansion all the time, like when he's in his 40s and stuff.
Which is weird because the Playboy Mansion is a private residence now. And they're like, sir, this has not been the Playboy Mansion in about 10 years.
Well, okay, but that whole thing is what I mean. But I just think he's super, super cute.
I'm looking him up now because this might be peak Wilmer Valderrama. I don't know what he looks like. No, he's still pretty fucking hot. Oh, that's right, because he's on that, like, he's on one of those, like, murder shows my parents like NCIS or something, or, like, CSI, or he's on one of those shows.
So, what are your thoughts on telenovelas? Did you grow up watching them?
No.
Is that something that was No,
I had a very American growing up. A very American upbringing, watching, like, The Cosby Show. My parents don't watch that stuff. They don't watch any Spanish television or anything.
Okay.
Did Babalu watch that stuff?
I think he watched a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
He watched a couple of them in Miami, but I don't really know of any specifically. But what were your thoughts as somewhat of Mexican descent watching these? Were you offended at all? Do you feel
strangely was. I remember there was a challenge. I can't remember what it was. I think it was the what's the name of that artist that they did the challenge? We had to dress like her.
Frida Kahlo?
Wasn't there a Frida Kahlo challenge during season 8? And I remember being really offended by that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this one didn't offend me too much. I don't know why. Because I don't know. I didn't find it particularly offensive. I don't know why. I just didn't. I mean, it was dumb, you know, like they kept saying like dumb, corny, like Latino things, you know, like they threw in every kind of obvious Latino language joke, you know, Spanish.
I have that on here that Ru was pretty much doing the equivalent of what she did for Drag Race UK where there was a dry erase board of where the producers came up with every single, you know, I Chihuahua and all that kind of stuff and coming up with things to say, and it was
look, some of them they make me laugh. Like I think during the runway they talk about someone's chi-chis. And it made me laugh. So like, it was dumb. It was silly. For some reason, it didn't seem to come from a negative place. So I didn't have a negative reaction to it. And it felt like everybody was having fun with it. I don't know why the Frida Kahlo challenge though, like got on my nerves in season 8. But this one, I thought I saw it for what it was. So what did Babalu watch it with you?
Yeah, he didn't really say anything about it. I just have a feeling if they tried to do that in season 12, people would take offense to it.
They could do it in season 12. I don't know if they could do like the accent and that got a little, giving her a mustache, or like there are certain things I probably would stay away from. But I think you could redo it. It is a fun challenge.
Yeah. So you grew up very Americanized. Did you used to watch soap operas, or did you watch like nighttime soaps or anything when you were a kid?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch soap operas either. Any nighttime soaps. My parents didn't watch those shows either. The closest, it's weird. Like I didn't even watch 90210 except later. Like later in life, maybe I'm like early to mid 20s. Someone says, "You never seen my 90210?" I'm like, "No." And then I got in this huge. I go, I'll watch an episode. I didn't realize what a soap opera that was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to her? Brandon, you know? And then I did a deep dive where I watched like 3 or 4 seasons of it. And then,
well, it got more soapy as it went. In the beginning, it was really kind of more just this is what's going on in these kids' lives, right?
I don't think I saw the early ones. I think I saw like the middle, late ones.
Okay.
Where it was very, very soapy. Strangely, I also got wrapped up into the soap opera, which I should probably start watching it again. It was, I suppose I saw it on one of the TV channels, like the old, but I started watching Dark Shadows.
Oh, Dark Shadows. Some of those old Dark Shadows are fun to watch just from how badly they're produced.
Yeah.
You get the boom mic in a lot of shots and everything.
Yeah, it's terrible. But that one's a great, cause it's weird. It's a weird soap opera cause it's like a spooky, like Addams Family soap opera. Yeah.
It's a vampire. And they've done, well, they did a horrible Tim Burton movie a couple of years ago, but there was also a series in like the mid 90s, I think, where they kind of brought it back.
Oh, was it good?
I don't know. It wasn't on very long. It was like a nighttime soap.
The problem is part of the charm of it is how shitty it looks.
Yeah. You used to be able to watch those, I think, on Netflix.
I think they have them all on Netflix now. I think for a while they only had a few seasons. Now they have them all on Netflix.
Okay. Oh, that might be fun to torture my husband with every night. Let's watch a Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Dark Shadows are the new Bon Appetit videos. We'll watch those instead.
Yeah. We're not going to torture our audience with Bon Appetit videos or anything like that. I feel, I listen back and I'm like, God, we have to make people sit through Bon Appetit talk and Star Wars talk, and these are going to be a year old by the time they hear them, and
right.
Andy's probably gone by then. You had this theory that okay, no, we'll talk about it after the show. All right. Over on Team Alyssa, the team's namesake, Alyssa Edwards, is going over the top with her lines while also believing that Coco Montrese is conspiring to throw her off her game. During the table visit with Rue, Jinx learns she may have been doing an Italian accent the whole time, and RuPaul laughs at the thought that Alyssa cast her archenemy, Coco Montrese, as the ugly maid. Later in the workroom, Alyssa goes through Jinx's wardrobe to find something for the filming, but Alyssa's back rolls seem to be getting in the way. During the filming of the scene, Jinx does well. Coco keeps screwing up her lines, while Alyssa Edwards finds it difficult to have an orgasm. The final product had its highs with Jinx, but seemed to fall apart in an amazing way, I think, with Alyssa Edwards. Taylor, your thoughts on all things Team Alyssa and La Casa de Locas?
The one thing that I noticed was that Coco's outfit changed halfway through where all of a sudden she was back in the maid's outfit when she was standing between them.
Yeah, that was weird.
And saying like the chimichanga and the other things that she was saying. It wasn't as good. It reminded me of All Stars 2 with the doo-wah, where Alyssa just didn't seem to know what she was doing,
but I love
very
that.
Reserved. I know you do. I think that Jinx gave 110%, and that was awesome when she was riding against the chair and rolling around on the ground. I thought that's the type of shit that Rue loves.
Yeah.
You know, it was again reminiscent. You think of the next season of the Final Four with Darian Lake with the Sissy movie where she throws herself on the ground and everything, where they show Rue where she's like, holy shit, and she goes back and gets her.
Yeah.
So I think that is just, Rue loves that just over the top ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And it showed here.
Yeah. There's not much to say. In fact, the sketch, what's funny is, look, hindsight is 2020. Okay. Mm-hmm. And, we've seen a lot of sketches since then. Some very bad sketches, In the grand scheme of things, Casa de Locas is not horrible. It's actually fairly good, It's actually probably one of their better sketches. And so, it's fine. It's not as funny as the one with Detox and Alaska and Roxy, but but again, I think might be even funnier
because it's so bad. Because
Alyssa's so bad and Jinx is so good. So you have the greatness of Jinx, and then you have Alyssa with her way of talking and the horrible. Why couldn't she do an orgasm? And they literally say, just copy what Jinx is doing.
Yeah,
she does
you just got to bring yourself to that level. That's just making all the weird noises and rolling around on the ground.
Yeah, but she couldn't do it, and it's so weird. I don't know. I loved it, but anyway, but there's not much else to say about it. It's elimination day, and the girls are getting ready for the runway. Everyone seems to gang up on Alyssa. Jinx is confident in her Dia de los Muertos look, while Roxy is dubious. Detox is single and doesn't know if she's ready to date again after her crazy stalker boyfriend's death. And finally, Detox confesses that she and Roxy are getting closer. we've discussed the detox stuff, but what about this? Everyone starts ganging up on Alyssa about the outfits and this and that sort of continuation of conversation we had earlier. But then also we have the thing with Jinx and her outfit, and then we're starting to see now the early signs of Roxy's just not having it with Jinx. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, which is weird because there are moments in Untucked where it seems like there is a mutual respect between Jinx and Roxy. Mm-hmm. So you sort of see these where they keep showing Jinx or Roxy saying really not great things about Jinx, and they're building towards those last couple of episodes of the last couple, because as much as I've talked about season 5 being the bullying season, we haven't really seen it to the degree that I expected to at this point, that I remember it being. Maybe it's because it seems so much stronger the next couple of episodes. Then that's kind of what stayed with me, the tail end of the season. But it's weird. It's weird because they seem to like each other in certain moments, and then in other moments they show Roxy just kind of making faces and saying really shitty things about Jinx.
Yeah, but I think, hasn't Roxy talked about this, and we'll see what the evidence is and whether it supports that it's a bad day or bad couple of days, and they made it seem like it was all the time.
Yeah.
So. We'll be back right after this. All right, well, Taylor, I have very big news for you.
Yeah?
It's time for the looks. The category is this week Latina Glamorosa Eleganza. Your thoughts, Taylor?
My two favorite looks were, as I said, one of my favorite things about this episode was Jinx's look, the Dios de los Muertos look. And I loved Roxy's look. I thought Roxy looked super hot with the jet black hair and the red outfit with the black corset and the black gloves. I thought she looked amazing. My least favorite looks were definitely Alyssa. I don't know that it was one of the worst looks in 5 seasons, like Santino said. It wasn't a good look. It looked messy. And I'm trying to think of who else was left.
I thought Detox's look looked lazy. It was basically a pantsuit with a sombrero.
Was it even a pantsuit? I thought it was just a dress.
No, it's a pantsuit.
Oh, Detox. Yes, Detox's was... I got Detox and Alaska mixed up for a second. Detox, yes, I thought it was... Yeah, lazy is a really good word. If it wasn't for the sombrero, you wouldn't have ever known that was the theme. So, and then really Alaska was just okay, and I know people talk about this look for Coco being an iconic look. It was fine.
I like it.
I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of the color. I loved the sleeves, but it was just sort of in the middle of the road.
Every once in a while I put some chapstick right now while Taylor was talking. Did you see me do that, Taylor?
I did see you do that.
Was it erotic?
No, not at all. Do you want to watch me put on chapstick? I could put chapstick on right now.
We're going to watch Taylor put on chapstick. Here we go. Ooh, yeah.
So wet.
Yeah. Okay. We just lost 100.
That was me shooting ping pong balls out of my ass.
And that's the looks.
That's the looks.
On the main stage, Roxy Andrews, Alaska, and Jinx earned high marks, while Alyssa, Coco, and Detox were not so well received. In the end, Jinx Monsoon was named the winner of the challenge, while Coco Montrese and Alyssa Edward were forced to go head-to-head in a lip-sync battle for their lives. After all was said and done, Coco lived to see another day, while Alyssa Edwards was asked to sashay away. Taylor, any final thoughts on the episode?
Well... I told you not to watch Untucked.
Good. Yes.
And Untucked, the reason I told you not to watch it is it was a lot of filler. It was a lot of scenes of people just kind of looking at each other while they took sips, like where they were looking to fill space. But the one thing that happened that I thought was interesting was when they were going down the panel. For during deliberations or during eliminations, Alyssa had that weird moment of where she sort of was like talking a lot and she was saying way too many things. Okay, well, the reason why, and I have a feeling this is my theory on this.
Wait, hold on for a second. Everyone should know during the judges' critiques, They were critiquing Alyssa. Santino, with his no drag knowledge mouth, told Alyssa it was one of the worst outfits he's ever seen in 5 seasons. And then she goes in this weird, disconnected sort of rant, and then Coco interrupts her. And it's a rant. I don't even know what it's about, but she can lip sync and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, go ahead, Taylor.
Right. Well, because what they do is they show in Untucked that there was a question of where Ru asked the question, who should go home this week? And everybody said Alyssa. So it makes sense that response is probably to when Alyssa was asked, but they kind of merged it together to where it made it look like she had this crazy cuckoo moment.
Yeah.
When Santino was talking. Now, and that was one of the Untucked exclusives that they show.
Okay.
Here's the other thing that they showed during that was at one point, Ru asked all of the girls, okay, so we've said who should go home. Who is your biggest competition here?
Oh.
And I thought that was such a great question that I really wish they would bring that back for future seasons, because most of the queens that were on the stage said Jinx.
Oh, really?
Including Roxy, where Roxy said, I feel like this is, Jinx is it. And Jinx said during it, while I appreciate that, you guys all saying that scares the shit out of me, because now I feel like I've got a target on my back, whereas I didn't before. You all said that. So I feel like that's a good way for people that maybe feel like they're doing really well to kind of, where other people recognize it and it kind of plays with their head a little bit. And that was sort of not a bullying moment, but that was the last little bit of the episode of Untucked. But Roxy and Jinx have a conversation of where Roxy says to Jinx, I'm coming for you now. Now that everybody thinks that you're the top one, you goes, I've got tricks in my bag too that I haven't shown. You keep talking about all these tricks you have. Well, I've got some tricks too. And it wasn't said like I don't think it was a bullying, but I think it was some of this may be Roxy trying to get into Jinx's head, and where this is an example of that, of where this is starting, but they chose not to show that because it happened in the Silver Lounge or whatever. So I guess they technically wouldn't show it in Drag Race, but I thought that was interesting. So that question, I would love to see that question come back in future seasons. Who's your biggest competition here?
Interesting. One of the things I was going to say, because I only watched the episode proper, is that Alyssa, during the last segment when they do the exit interview, and Alyssa talks about, I made it to the top 6 of this this show that is such an important thing for drag queens. And I was like, this bitch doesn't know how huge she's going to be. Like, this is a person seeing that she thinks, okay, well, I'm going to get what I can from this. She doesn't realize the phenomenon it's going to be. And that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of them realize. I mean, at this point, it's not, the machine is starting to build up, but it's not the machine that it is now.
Well, no, but also I would say at this point there have only been maybe 60 to 75 queens, but we're at peak Drag Race. I'm saying 4, 5, and 6 are peak Drag Race, so that they're the ones that the show actually launches, or they don't have that much competition. They can name their quote at the clubs. Now it's tough now for girls because there are close to 200 girls, in the competition who are competing now for these same spots. And
is there really that many?
If you think about it, wait, let me see. We have Taylor. Right now we'll say we're at 11 seasons, right?
Okay.
They have,
and there's average
girls.
13 girls, 13 to 14, average 13.
Well, no, remember, let's even go because season 8. Remember, they ended it right at 100. Okay, so it was at season 8. There's exactly 100 queens as of season 8.
Okay?
So 9, we're going to say you have 9, 10, 11. Oh, okay. So let me see.
So you figure, 11 had what, 15?
Did it have that many? So around the neighborhood of 40. They've been like 40. Okay. So we're like at 140 queens who are out there.
Yeah. But still, that's a lot more competition than 60 or 70. That's double.
Yeah. Double what it is now. Yeah.
But you also see thinking about who's the first one to go home. Penetration was the first one to go home, right?
Yeah.
This season. And you don't hear anything about Penetration.
Yeah.
But even when you have people like Kahana and who was the little Muslim one? Jazz?
Mercedes Iman Diamond.
Yeah. Like they're still, they still get bookings and that kind of stuff. So, even at this point, this machine has gotten so much bigger that even like some of the first girls that went home, they consider that to be, I got on the show. We've talked about Magnolia Crawford just wanting the publicity and how shocking that was at the time. You bring that up multiple times over multiple seasons. And we're seeing that all you really need to get to this point is you just need to get on the show.
Yeah. Well, this season is the proof of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in the 80s, I think there's been a documentary about this in the late 80s. I think it's around then. There's a book about this, documentary about this. There were like a ton of comedy clubs in the country, a ton. And you could actually, as a comedian, make a living as a stand-up comedian just because there were so many clubs and they would pay you and you would go there and, the pay was good. And then all of a sudden there was this glut of comedy clubs and they all died, And so then the comedians were out of work and it just, the crash. It has a name for it, but basically the comedy scene crashed. And I feel we're going to see that because we're getting to like glut peak drag, where it's like there's just too many fucking drag queens. And at a certain point, the audience's interest in going to see them live is going to dissipate.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of out of work drag queens. Oh, and only a few, if any, will survive. I feel Bianca survives.
Trixie?
Maybe.
Trixie's got her music and the makeup stuff to go on.
Yeah, and the viral stuff and stuff like that. But like, there's only going to be a handful who can continue to make a living doing this. And I don't know when it's going to happen. But
I think it's going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start to see that. Yeah, there's going to be a crash at some point.
Yeah. So, well, on that note,
that happy ray of sunshine.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 5. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Drag Race Recap. If you want access to more content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Twitter and Instagram at PIMCTaylor. You can follow Lori Roggenkamp on Instagram at PickleMyth. Follow Joe Betance on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Betance. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast. This podcast was made possible by the following exclusive tier Patreon supporters: AJ Norris, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Bree Weiss, Common Cool, Coco San Pedro, D-Man, Dean Barney UK, Devin McKay, Diana Sklans, Doofus Maximus, Haley Sklans, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Jeffrey Thunderbear, Jesse Harris, Jesse Lozano, Jimmy Kielbasa, John J., Jordan Darling, Katie Whitmire, Lauren Eckert, Luke Stamen, Melissa Payton, Nicholas Alexander Springham, Nikki Baker, Parker Elliott, Pedro SF, Rachel J., Robert NYC, Sandy Ramirez Ruiz, Scott Sorensen, Sir Met Smith, Travis Potter, Yaz Waz, and Eve Adams.